Hello once again, and welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and Furious, we will review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And tonight, we are back at Star Wars: The Bad Batch, Episode 6, Decommissioned. Oh, yes. 6 in, 10 more to go.
God.
All right. I am your host, Dr. Rott. Joining me tonight is Chris Slattery, the Slattman. How you doing, sir?
Good. I finally got a Star Wars shirt.
Oh, look at that.
It only took
Yay.
me more years than it should.
Is that your first Star Wars shirt? Are you sure?
I think so, actually.
Well, it's not like he doesn't have other Star Wars stuff. So
I know. He's got tons of stuff everywhere.
Exactly. See what I mean?
Wow, look at that.
So just because he doesn't have a shirt, he's got plenty of other stuff.
I'm not even going to say anything. All right. Let's also introduce podcasting Rockstar International Cosplay Queen Vanessa. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm still working on amassing my Star Wars collection. So
Yeah.
You got a pretty badass helmet back there, though.
we got 2 now.
You got 2 of them?
Oh, God. Share some with the rest of us, woman. How dare you? You and your hubby making me all jelly.
Jelly.
Eh?
All right. Let's welcome award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. He is an uber Star Wars fan. Star Wars is your favorite film, right?
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, New Hope is my favorite film of all time. Correct. So Star Wars is my mistress. Oh, by the way, I want to point out something that we talked about last week. We talked about the bow weapon actually is from Star Wars. It's one of the Night Sisters actually utilized that weapon. So for us that thought, oh, this is a whole new weapon. Nope.
Does that count as your one of your 10 for the week?
Yeah. Is that 1 of 10?
No.
No, he's bringing 11. He's bringing it. All right.
I guess I should have put it in there.
The bonus.
Let's take a look at the card about the show we are talking about tonight. Yes, Star Wars: The Bad Batch, Episode 6, Decommissioned, June 4th, 2021. It's when it aired, directed by Brad Rao and Nathaniel Villanueva. Is that close? Maybe not. Written by Jennifer Corbett and Dave Filoni. Cast includes D. Bradley Baker, Michelle Ang, Matthew Wood, and Reed Bowman's back. Yay! Synopsis: on a mission to acquire a valuable asset, the Bad Batch, or the Batch, encounters smugglers after the same target. Smugglers who we recognize. We'll get into that here in just a bit. What we're going to do is we're going to give our first impression of the show. We're going to be spoiler free as much as possible. Then we're going to dive into discussion, and that's going to be full spoilers. And then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, a 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. We always start with the Slattman, so we're not going to break ranks here. So tell us, sir, what was your first impression of Episode 6?
I liked it.
Yay!
I thought it was a fun episode. I thought that just like last week, it did enough of building the story while also feeling like its own little sidetrack, that a fun little adventure that doesn't really need a part 2 necessarily, but there's so many little bits and pieces that they're throwing in that are going to impact the overall story, and that is, I think, what makes a great Star Wars episode. Looking at Rebels, looking at Clone Wars, looking at Mandalorian, those are always some of the best episodes. Is when it's very clearly a beginning, middle, end, but there's hints and small little tidbits in there that really start painting the picture of the overall story, and this episode does it perfectly. So I have nothing but praise, and I really enjoyed our cameos for the week.
Yes, very much so. All right,
and
Vanessa.
I'm talking about Roger, by the way. The droids.
Oh,
Roger.
Did we win?
Vanessa, what was your first impression of episode 6?
I totally agree. This is one of my favorite episodes so far. It
Oh,
was
wow.
so much fun. Just the story layout, the action, the things that are happening felt so Star Wars. You felt so immersed in what was happening. Everything was so great about it. And I like, again, that it's kind of quick fire with these episodes that are like this, because it keeps the action rolling the whole time. And like you said, just giving you little hints of what's going to come in the future. And once again, I knew we'd get more Sid, and I love her. I love Sid so much. She's such a fun character. And I can't wait to, honestly, one of the things I'm looking forward to in the next episodes is, what is Sid's reaction going to be now? What's coming next from Sid?
Yeah, what's up with Sid? Now we're gonna get the Sid show.
The Sid show.
Yeah, it'd be like a. Well, never mind. All right, Christopher Tremore, you're up next. What was your first impression of episode 6?
Although for some reason Sid reminds me of the woman in Monsters Inc.
Yeah, with the glasses.
The glasses. I don't know why that she's
watching you.
I'm watching it.
Wazowski.
Yeah, I keep it. I don't know. For some reason, it feels like a lizard version of that.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. I think she's such a badass character, because she feels like some like
She knows things.
yeah.
She's done-
It just feels like that some old lady that's like, I've been everywhere. Don't mess with me, young boy.
The way she pushes Wrecker around too.
Yeah.
This is off topic.
She doesn't give a poodoo. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I mean, they're really, hey, we need to give Chris more of these A-team missions, or I guess we should call it the B team, the BB team. Because I mean, I think there's a way of always sort of moving the plot along, but at the same time taking them on these missions. So I would be okay if the next 10 episodes are just them. Okay, let's go to this planet and do this. Let's go to this planet, and we still haven't had Crosshair show up at any point now. So at some point he's got to be that colonel that's always going after the A team. For those people that know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think it's this is definitely a full-on action episode throughout. And we get some, we also get character arcs are starting to expand, especially the Mega are like trying to learn her abilities. But yeah, and there's a lot of, if you'll see in my top 10 list, there's a lot of connections to a lot of other Star Wars properties throughout this episode as well. So yeah, I this is probably one of my favorite episodes this season so far. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't know. No, I love this.
What?
I love this.
Okay,
No,
I
no,
thought
no,
that
no,
was
no, no,
really
no,
about
no,
to
no,
just.
no,
I was gonna shoot first on that one.
No, this was a lot of fun. What I loved about it was the whole bow arc, with the learning the bow and everything. I don't know why that out of all of the stuff was what I like, because I just like that she got it right. She got it at the end, and I love Sid's part in it too. Like she grabbed the bow. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing. Here's a lesson. Pew, 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 pew. Lesson's over.
Little noodle arms.
I know, little arms. That's good. Get your strength. Lesson over. But I don't know. So I loved her aspect. I'm warming up to her more and more each week. Really liking her, and then of course we get some Wrecker stuff going on too. We'll get into the details of that later, but that had me worried a bit. I've never liked Roger robot things. This was a small dose, so it didn't bother me. But
They're so funny to me.
Yeah, but that part
Sorry.
where the thing comes back on, he's like, "Did we win?"
Well, I did like
not
that.
laugh at that.
Orders
like
are
that.
orders.
Orders are.
Orders are orders. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine in the small dose that we got, so I was happy with that. But there were other, of course, there's 2 cameos that we have, a pair of cameos, and I didn't really make it at first. I was like, wait a minute, And then, because they had the helmets on for a good while, and then, it's like, oh shit. So yeah, I liked it. I had a good time with this. Isn't my favorite one? I don't know if I love it as much as you guys do, but that doesn't mean I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I mean, I did very much like it. And I liked the little teaser at the end, but I don't think it's the bad teaser that some people are thinking, right? I think it's a positive teaser. Connecting dots, not crossing dots, right?
Well, they could be a million different characters.
It could be. We got to get into that at some point. So there you go. That's our first impression. Let's dive into this. Christopher, I want you to go ahead and start off with your list. And the first thing I want to ask you is our pair in your list, or is that something?
Maybe I should put it. I think I had it in the list, but then I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about it.
Oh,
so.
Rick and I have double bonus.
All right. So, wow.
You're building this up, and you're going to be so deflated.
No.
When I go, they're like, really? That's. I did have it on there. I mean, I have things I could have squeaked out an extra. So, but yeah, I mean, first we got Trace and Rafa.
Yes.
From Clone Wars showing back up. So that's definitely an Easter egg of sorts. So we have that. Also, we have two characters that are returning from Clone Wars episode season 7 as well, and that's the Etherean and the Weequay. That's the Hammerhead and the other guy who's like one of the soldiers on Return of the Jedi, which we sort of saw on the bar last week, but this one we get to see them interacting. Betting on.
Yeah.
That's the same two that helped Trace when they were trying to get out when they were trapped. So we have them, and their mission is on Corellia. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but that's actually the planet of Han Solo, which we saw in Solo.
Right.
So we get to actually of course, tactical droids is something that's shown up in Clone Wars, Rebels, and Solo. There was actually one of those tactical droids in Solo as well. And also there's a maneuver that we've seen in previous films, whether it's been the Millennium Falcon hiding on a Star Destroyer or Obi-Wan. And that's where they attach themselves to a ship. And so when they mention they do that maneuver, that's a trick that's people's been used over and over. That's the thing we've seen in other films. Also, the ship they attach themselves is a container ship, which was a ship that they showed in Rebels. So that let's see what else. Oh yeah. With them destroying all the robots, that was actually called out by Darth Sidious in Revenge of the Sith when he says all droid units must be shut down immediately. And so you can see the reasoning why they have this thing and because they're on Corellia, they use the metal from those robots to build the ships, because that planet is also the same planet where they make ships for the Empire. The droid factory in Attack of the Clones feels very kind of mirrorish to this factory where they basically destroy droids. So with less C-3PO getting his head knocked off. The R7A7, which shows up on the ship of Rafa and Trace, that probably was given to them fixed and given to them by Ahsoka, possibly. So that may feed into that end scene. I don't know. The practicing with the bow is very reminiscent of Luke Skywalker practicing, learning to focus the Force to be able to use his powers to wield the lightsaber or a bow. Because if you think about it, throughout this whole episode, they talk about you need to focus, you need to tune out everything in the same way that you need to tune into the Force. So, which to me feeds more into her Force sensitivity. Sorry, Vanessa. I know you're like,
I'm
no.
still leaning that way too.
I'm still leaning at just being an action broad.
One of
the yeah,
that would be cool too.
One of the robots says a Huttese curse word to them, which was the same curse word that E3PO said to C3PO in Empire Strikes Back when that door opens. And
wow,
so, how rude! So he says Ichuta, which is a Huttese curse word. And I think that's all 10.
Can I add one more?
Yes, go ahead.
So the in Rebels, the way that Ahsoka gives the group, like Hera, Kanan, Ezra, etc. The way that she gives them the directions to Rex is through a droid head, the commander droid head. And if the end scene is who we think it is, or who we hope it is, the data from the head could be transferred from one head to another. So it's depending on which direction they go with that, it could be that the data that they got from the droid head is the data that leads the ghost to Rex and Rebels.
Nice.
Interesting.
Nice.
Although, did you notice that there was an error in the animation where the head of the R7A7 changed color?
No, I
It
didn't.
turned dark. So if you go back and look, that it changes the colors totally change in that. So I don't know what kind of error they had with that.
That is probably not an Easter egg, though.
I don't think it's an Easter egg. I noticed when to watch that it went from just looking like the R7 droid, and then it had a dark top to it in later scenes when they're flying off. So unless they switched out the droid or something, which didn't happen. So I don't know if that was just something they accidentally missed when they were animating, but
Interesting.
they'll fix it in post.
Yeah,
Probably.
It's
just
already fixed by the time
like
we're done.
Gene's guy.
Yeah, like Gene's guy. Like you'll go and watch it now. It's like, hey, what are you talking about, Chris?
I know Gene's guy is classic. All right. There's a lot going on in this. We get this really cool ending. I think everybody's kind of chomping at the bit, trying to figure out who do Raya and Trace, who do they contact to say that they met a bad batch of clones, right? That are not that's a part of the Empire, right? There are theories out the wahoo. We've got to talk about who it is. Chris, Slattman, you've kind of given us a little bit of hint of yours, so I want to come back to you. But Vanessa, who do you think it is?
Oh, who did I think it initially was? Ahsoka, but then I realized they say call him or bring him up or something. So I think it might be Rex. Yeah, but I think it's Rex. Oh, well, I won't go any further. I'll do one.
Rex. You think it's Rex? Slattman, she thinks it's Rex. I didn't hear the him. And does that change your mind? Who do you think it is?
Oh no, that doesn't change my mind.
Okay.
I thought it was so here's why I don't think it's Ahsoka. Because the novelization, Ahsoka novel literally takes place during these episodes.
Oh man. Well, you smarty.
So it's probably so Rex is a really good option. Bail Organa is probably the other biggest option.
Mhm.
Ooh, yeah.
And Chris
is
Moore.
Is it Chris Moore is not an option. No, what did you? Who do you think it is? I thought it was going to be Ahsoka, so my whole theory is thrown out.
I think it's Watto. No.
Wow.
A deep dive.
What are you doing with these droids? No, I
Just do the rest of the show like that, will you?
get back to work.
You took one child from me. I want another one. How are you on a speeder?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it's Bail Organa.
Okay.
I think we already know from some of the deleted scenes from the prequels that he was already working to build the Rebel Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
He's working behind the scenes and trying to get people connected and trying to find people who are, going to help him fight the Empire. And so I think Bail is the one. I mean, he if you've seen outfits he's worn, it kind of looks similar, although they do leave it pretty open-ended. It could be anybody wearing kind of like cloak or something, over that. So
He's basically the leader of the Rebel Alliance at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So-
Him and Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
I guess it
Yeah.
could be. Well, they do say it's a guy.
Ooh. They do say him.
Somebody said it's a him.
They do
So
say call him up or something to that effect.
So it can't be Mothma.
I guess not. Well,
But,
there are others that they're talking about. They're talking about Andor, right? And they're also talking about Darth Maul, of all people.
And Jar Jar.
That's a
Don't forget
wild.
Jar Jar.
So Maul is not actually that far-fetched though, because he's the
Okay.
leader. He's the leader of the underground crime. I can't remember. It's not Black Sun.
Syndicate.
Something along those lines. I don't remember off the top of my head. But he's the leader of this huge crime empire at the moment. And given Trace and Rafa's background, even though it kind of defeats the whole purpose of their arc in season 7, I could see them working for someone shady like that.
Was that Crimson Dawn? Was that the?
I thought Crimson Dawn was a part of his crime, but you could be right.
Yeah, it could be.
Was a criminal organization led by the former Sith Lord Maul?
Oh yeah, I guess it is Crimson Dawn.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they would be duped, right? We're not saying that they know what they're doing in this case. It's not like they've turned evil. They just don't know this. What about Saw Gerrera? I haven't heard anybody say Saw Gerrera. Could it be him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a possibility of that as
Yeah.
well. I mean,
That's the least interesting one though,
I
because we've
know,
already
yeah.
seen him this
Yeah,
season.
exactly.
well, but
Exactly.
because we saw him, that might be a reasoning for him to pop back up at some point. So, I mean,
Yeah.
although it
But
seems
so
kind of
secretive like that, they wouldn't make it secretive. They would just show him, don't you
Mhm.
think?
I think that's a good point.
I feel like that. That people who made
Right?
this are hiding this character.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have seen him full on. So, yeah, it's got to be some character that's either we haven't seen yet, or I mean, it could be like a very mystery character as well. That we're like, ooh, that character.
What if it's Mace Windu? I
we
wish.
still want Mace. We want Mace in there
I
somewhere.
wish.
Another character I've seen is Boba actually.
Okay.
Didn't he? How old would he be?
He'd be
right
a
now?
youngin.
He would be in his like late-ish teens.
Okay.
So like probably 16 at this point.
I don't know. We're going to have to start some odds now and start putting down our chips. It'd be interesting. How long do you think it's going to be, guys? How long? For us to
Episode
find out?
15 billion.
15 billion. No,
Yeah.
Before we
seriously.
find out.
Are we going to find out this season? Yeah, of course. I think
it's Mephisto. I think that's that's my bet. It's Mephisto. He couldn't pop up in one division, so he's going to pop up here.
Right? Yeah. I think next 2 episodes, if not the next one, we're going to find out who that was.
Okay. No, it was Agatha all along.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be sooner and later. I do too. Because some of these plot points got to start converging, right?
Yeah, we said the same thing about WandaVision. They managed to tie it all up in the last episode. So
that's true.
Yeah,
but
they didn't have this many episodes.
we also did that in The Mandalorian. We say, no, we're not going to find that out until the final episode, and then 1 week.
One
away.
X-wing?
All right, so we've got Raya and Drace. Are we going to see them again? It kind of alludes that we are,
not
right?
Raya.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rafa.
Rafa.
Different Disney show.
Yes.
There's no dragon.
No dragons.
Well, there's crate dragons, so I guess so. Rafa and the crate dragon. Let's do that. Somebody do that mashup.
There you go. That works. What do we think? Are we going to see them again, or is this it?
I hope so.
It seems like it.
I think they might be joining up. I think they'll probably if this is like the beginnings of the Rebel Alliance and that kind of stuff, I think they might be part of that whole movement. So I think that they're trying to like repair their ways.
I just had a thought. What if they're trying to build them up because they're going to be in the Andor show or in the Kenobi show?
Oh, the Andor show is probably
Maybe Kenobi.
I mean, it would make sense if they brought them in season 7 Clone Wars, and then they're having them in multiple episodes in this to try and get the audience to like them so much.
Mm.
That'd be cool. Continue their
Interesting.
story,
Yeah.
and then
All right.
they're a part of the Rebel Alliance.
Mhm.
Well, it could be either one, right? It could be either one. All right. We got one more thing we need to talk about before we wrap this up, and that's Wrecker. Wrecker has a little bit of we've been worried about Wrecker for the past couple because of the headaches, right? This one kind of takes a turn. Slatman, what's going on with Wrecker? What he's got a damaged chip?
I don't know if it's a damaged chip as much as whatever was keeping him from the chip from activating is kind of going away. Like whatever natural barrier he had because of his because he's not a perfect clone, you know. That's kind of eating away. But they're clearly setting up the stage for either Tech and Echo to come up with a way to fix the chip so then they can use it on Crosshair to get Crosshair back, or Omega to use that bond that she has with him to pull him out of it later in the season.
Or it is Rex, right? And then they'll know.
I mean, technically Rex was unconscious when
But
he got it taken out.
Yeah, but he knows he had it cut out of his brain.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, that's what they're gonna have to do, I imagine, right? Unless you're right, unless Tech comes up with some cool like way to fry it or something.
Without frying Wrecker.
Yeah,
Without frying him.
This might sting a bit. All right, Christopher, you have said multiple times in the past couple weeks that Wrecker is becoming your favorite of the batch.
He is my favorite, not becoming my favorite.
Okay,
he is my favorite.
Boom!
How dare you say becoming? Like I'm not non-committal. I'm all in on the Wrecker. I'm sorry.
All in on the Wrecker. Are you worried for Wrecker?
I'm very worried. I mean, because I feel like there's going to be a moment where, you know, he goes full Order 66, and I think we will have a moment. We may have a moment where we meet some Jedi at some point, and it's going to trigger that chip, because I mean he's already sort of. So I don't know if it's like if it's already triggered in his head. You know what I mean? And it only like hits if they're around like certain things which go against what they're supposed to be doing, you know, like, or do, you know, because I mean, other than Order 66, does it program them to do anything else other than
good
just
soldiers follow orders?
So, yeah. So who? I mean,
so if their order, if they have to go back to Camino, or if they meet Crosshair at some point, and Crosshair is like this, these are not the orders that we've been given. You abandoned us. That could just trigger it potentially.
I think there might be a team up there, but at some point.
No.
And I think the only good thing there is that his connection with Omega. I think it may be the way that he could sort of get him out of that. So, but yeah, I'm kind of worried. I think there's going to be some kind of moment where he switches into sort of zombie trooper mode, and he's also, you know, he's a beast to deal with in general. Just look what he did when he was going off on all those robots, and so I think they're going to have a big mess on their hands if they have to not only have to, you know, corral, you know, Crosshair and his troops, but then having, you know, Wrecker as well. So yeah, I hope there's somebody that shows up at some point that can help them sort of get that thing out of him. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I again, I'm very concerned, and I hope he doesn't end up having to be this sort of savior character that has to sacrifice himself for the good of everybody else, because there's gonna be a lot of mad people.
Yeah. Now,
being one of them.
One last thing to talk about as we go out is that I read that while they're on Corellia or whatever, however you pronounce that. Now I can't say it. That Han Solo and what's the lady's name?
Kira
are actually children at this point, and have already part of is it called the Worm Dragons or something like that? What's it? What are they part of? Does anybody remember who's?
I
I
don't
can't
remember.
remember.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I know what you're talking about, but I don't
Yeah.
know the exact term for
They're
that.
already part of that. So I don't know. I just found that interesting that kind of tie that in that, there's a little, they missed an opportunity, I suppose, to have like a little young Han Solo running around.
I think that would have been a little too much.
It would have been, right? But
Although, did you guys hear about Kira popping up in the comics?
yes.
Which comics?
The bounty hunter one.
I would
Marvel,
love
yeah.
to see more of her
So-
and her connection with Maul, like
But-
whatever's going on there.
Yeah.
Because they go into the where Boba Fett had Han Solo and Carbonite, and the Carbonite thing started disrupting or whatever, and they had to land on some planet, and he was paying some person to fix it, and then he had to go do a bounty or something to help pay for it, and then when he came back, someone had stolen it, and then what was it? Jabba like put a bounty on him because he was supposed to be bringing it back. And you find out that the person that's, I think, is trying to buy it or whatever is Kira. So she's trying to save Han,
yeah,
her man Han. So,
Yep.
and then now it's like, I think that's the one thing I wish Solo had hit better, because I love a lot of the characters from that,
Yeah.
including Kira, that I would love for them to continue her story in some of these other Star Wars properties, even if it's a Disney Plus show. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. That movie got an unfair shake because of
Yeah.
all the circumstances that surrounded it, both in the making of it and fandom surrounding it, because everything was kind of up in arms. But I have a feeling that if we were to revisit it in a year or so, we're probably going to find a lot of love in that film.
You're already seeing it.
Yeah.
Both Rogue One and Solo, you're seeing a lot of love for.
Yeah.
I think
most people think it's better. Both of those movies are better than the sequel trilogy.
I think the hoopla around it was more about the hoopla and the behind the scenes stuff than it was about the actual end product. And I think it's kind of sad. Granted, the very beginning of it is very dark, visually dark. But I think overall, it's got some fun characters in it. I think what's his name from Community is perfect as a young Lando. I think it's an underrated film that I think over time people will find the positives in it.
Yeah, I think if they would have held back from the whole Solo naming thing, I think the palette would have been a little easier.
That's the whole George Lucas thing of like having to take all the magic over explaining everything. You don't have to explain everything, but that didn't bother me that much. I think maybe if they'd cast a different person as Solo, it might have worked a little bit better. But
maybe I don't know. I'm ready to revisit it. I'm going to have to go watch it again. All right, we don't want to go off and do a thing about Solo. I just wanted to bring that up, that he would be a child running around on that planet at this point. So anyway, that's
which is better than when he was supposed to show up as a child on the Wookiee planet. Which is what Lucas was running around in diapers on the Wookiee planet. That was supposed to have been in Lucas's initial idea. So
that's seriously wrong. All right, well there you go. That's our review for the Bad Batch episode 6. Of course, we'll be back for 7, and in between 6 and 7, we're going to be doing Loki episode 1. Also on Disney Plus. It arrives on the 9th as we're recording this, 2 days away. 2 days away. The early buzz is incredibly strong and incredibly positive. So going to be good things. So make sure you, in between our episodes, join us for Loki as well. All right, what we're going to do now is wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, because we haven't done that, and our favorite scene, right? We haven't done that, right? Holy crap, we're just like rattling off like we're going to end things. All right, so let's do that. There's a whole spiel I usually do, but we're going long, so let's just jump into it. Slattman, you're up first.
So I think I think one of the strongest points about this episode is just how much there is to discuss and how deep it is for 22 minutes. I mean, we're sitting here at what, 35 minutes talking about it on a 22-minute episode of just the possibilities and what if and what could be and where is this going, and we only touched on like probably like 3 minutes of the entire episode.
Right.
So I think that's a really huge positive for this, is that it's doing such a good job of telling a story and incorporating characters we know, maybe not love, but we're growing on them, and incorporating things from the universe that they're doing such a good job of tying everything together. And I love what they're doing with this episode or this series. This specific episode was so much fun. Every little set piece from Hunter bringing down the conveyor belts to them running around with the droid head and sneaking in, just it was so much fun from beginning to end, and I really enjoyed it, and we got to see every member of the Bad Batch actually do what they do best. And like when Tech was like pulled out the spike and was just like jammed it into the robot's head and was just like, that'll get me in. And it's just like it did such a good job of using the characters wisely and giving the characters moments that where they could shine, and then giving Wrecker a great moment where he had to get over his fear of heights, and that they built up so well. I love this episode. I really do. And I can't wait to see what comes next, because they did such a good job of planting little tidbits here and there about what could be coming next. I'm going to give this one a 4.75.
Nice.
And my favorite scene is the scene where all the battle droids come back to life, and they start talking, and then they join the fight. It's just,
what's going on?
Did we win?
I died of laughter. Did we win? Orders? Why are we shooting at the robots? Orders are orders. I loved that scene.
So good.
It is the best use of them. Vanessa, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
I agree. So much fun. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm giving this one a 5.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, to me, it's one of the best episodes so far. And since I've already talked about how much I love it, I'm gonna steal 2 things really quick to say. So I know one of them is I freaking love. Is there an echo in here?
Oh,
yes.
You stole it. Oh my God, that was my favorite.
That's my yes.
How long have they been sitting on that line?
You can have it. Oh, it's so good, so good. But my favorite scene is when Hunter jumps in and saves Omega. The drama, the way it was shot, the way he comes in and pulls them up, like everything about that scene was movie magic to me, and I really, really loved it. And it just shows how you can take something that's fun and it's droids and they're being silly, and it can put this real action into it, and you really fear for her in that moment as to what's going to happen. Obviously she's not going to melt in molten lava, but you still feel the excitement in that moment, and I really loved that a lot. And it just shows their commitment to her too. And I love that. And what Chris said too about everybody having a purpose in this episode, I think that's so evident, and they really drove that home to show everybody is needed, and everybody needs to work together, and everybody needs to care about each other.
Yeah, including the girls, right? So,
that's right.
Yeah, perfect. All right, Christopher, you are up next, sir. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
Yeah, I love this episode, and actually, Slattman talking about the bringing down the conveyor belt felt very AT-AT. And using like the thing, and so I was thinking that's another reference to other things, Yeah, I think I think this episode is firing on all cylinders, and I think mainly because they're kind of hitting their stride with the characters, even with the Omega character, which I had problems with in the very beginning. But if you notice, she's now just a part of the crew. They're treating her like one of the crew members. They're not chastising her for getting her leg caught or any of that kind of stuff that she did in the past, because everybody else is getting their asses handed to them in one way or another. So they're all having to work together for the same goal. And I think that's because she's now incorporated as part of this Star Wars A-team. She has her abilities as well, like everybody else. And she's honing those abilities as it's gone along. So, and a lot of the action sequences are, I think, some of the best of the series so far. I think I saw somewhere online where they talked about, like, this is the first time you really feel for the characters, like, oh crap, how are they going to get out of this? Because there's like so much against them, whether it's, the little girl about to be dropped into the Terminator pit of lava, or what's going to happen to Wrecker, or all these robots coming up. And actually, I felt Wrecker was very Indiana Jones, where like he's so fearless, except, oh, I hate heights. It's almost like Indiana Jones. It had to be snakes. So I think this episode is perfection in how it sort of has gotten us to this point to where there's all these type of scenarios and even having to work together with these secondary group of people who were sort of going against their own thing, and how they're sort of like, how they're also learning, their place in the universe. I think there's one point where Hunter's talking about it was a whole lot easier when we were just following orders, but now they're having to sort of make up their minds of what are their orders, what is their purpose in life. And Omega's trying to find her purpose as well as to who she is as a person, other than what she was made to be. So yeah, I love this episode. I probably will have to echo it with Vanessa and say give it a 5. Although I felt like the echo is very Abbott Costello, and I feel like that should be a running bit anytime it says echo.
I love that moment, because right before that, she's like, "We need a distraction." I think we need a distraction.
Well, I think that's I think she's I think even in the episode in the what was it season 7 of Clone Wars, she would always repeat things. So it's kind of funny how that allowed them to sort of connect with the Echo character for a very perfect joke.
Somebody got paid a lot of money to come up with that joke.
I know.
Somebody had that in their back pocket.
I know, and Doc is like, I wish that was me. How dare you steal my dad puns? As for favorite scene, I will say when Wrecker finally, of course, I have to pick a Wrecker scene.
Yes, you did.
My favorite Wrecker scene of the episode is when he gets his faculties back together and he's just like piling through droids left and right, doing what he does best, which is also can be not very beneficial to them if the Order 66 goes into full. But yeah, that's probably my favorite scene, is when he's just going full Wrecker blast on everything and being the character that I like the most. So yeah, so I love this episode.
Love the episode. You got your enthusiasm, the three of you, your enthusiasm for this episode has made this episode much stronger for me. This is kind of like the episode in Mandalorian season 2 when we didn't have the little baby Yoda in the the one episode where they were on the thing and everybody's kind of like, oh, what happened? And then we're like, oh wait, this is actually a really good episode. And this is kind of feeling that way to me now as well. So I'm just putting it on that parallel. It's not that I didn't like it when I first watched it. It's just like, I don't know, it wasn't connecting in the same way, but your enthusiasm was elevated it for me and it made my score higher than it was going to be.
Peer pressure.
Well, no, it's not peer pressure. It's enthusiasm here. I'm serious. I loved having the characters back, and I loved actually that they're using them in a way that the characters have grown, right? So they're the same characters, but there obviously has been, they've changed slightly, right? And so I like that. I like the conflicts that we have. I love that Omega is, learning how to use the bow. That's a big part of this episode. And there's also the conflict of conscience, right? Or that's not quite what I want to say, but at the end they have the data, and do you take the data back to Sid, or do you hand it off to the rebels? And they have to make that decision because things are different, and they're realizing that. And it really sells the whole thing. And it's really fascinating that we sat here for 45 minutes talking about a 22-minute animated show, right? Just like we are talking about The Mandalorian and WandaVision and others, TV shows, live action, and everything. They're putting the same amount of effort into these animated shows, and it shows, and it's paying off, and it's really, really an excellent series. So I'm going to give it a 4.25, which is higher than I was going to give it. I'm not going to tell how much it was going to be. And my favorite scene. Okay, so I want to tell you why the Echo scene. First, it's a funny joke, and two, he just slides into the scene. Yes. What do you need? I'm Echo. It was just like this. It was like, did he come? We didn't see it, but did he come sliding on his knees? Well, how did he get there like that? It was awesome.
I feel like he's been waiting for that joke his entire life as this new version of a clone, and he found that right moment to go, to play into his name.
Yeah, he's over there shooting droids, and he's just like one ear pricked up the whole time.
He's waiting for it. He's waiting for it to happen. All right, so if it's not that, it's Sid's scene with the bow. I just thought I loved when she stepped in there and she, was it the noodle arms, right?
Noodly arms.
It was just fantastic. It was straight up what this makes that character work, and then she goes bap 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 bap, and shows her how it's done. It's I really enjoyed that. So it's going to be those. I don't know. I'm enjoying the comedic moments. Is that weird? Is that weird? It might be weird. All right. All right. There you go. That's our review of episode 6 called Decommissioned. I guess they're going to keep that one-word title thing going through all 16. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Looking forward to next week. Looking forward to where this goes. Finding out the secrets. We need Crosshair to come back. I'm missing Tarkin big time. I don't know if I'll get more Tarkin.
You and your Tarkin fetish.
I love me some Tarkin. I wouldn't hate it if Darth Maul showed up. I'm just saying. But I would, some Andor would be cool. That'd be awesome. And of course, Rex would be the best, right? All right. All that and much more. All right, Vanessa, Slattman, Christopher G. Moore, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Always fun. The force is strong in this series.
Very well done. Very well done. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.